Joan, I'm actually a guy.
Creative juice.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you now. I was testing the microphone.
I know.
Sorry.
That was okay. I was like, I need a microphone. If I keep doing creative juice, I need to get a microphone.
I was going to ask you if you wanted me to record the audio with my microphone. I can put a little microphone in here, but I guess I don't have any battery on my phone either. So
Oh no,
it's
it's okay. I usually, it just comes from my computer. It's just crazy because my mom is doing Zumba downstairs right now, so it sounds like a club. So I was like, thanks, mom. No, I literally just got home and I was like, oh my gosh, it sounds so loud right now. And like, it doesn't bother me in the background, but it's pretty loud now.
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
I don't think so. I've got my headphones because sometimes I have like a delay with people, and like if I actually put on my headphones, for some reason it helps out a little bit. I don't know why.
I never knew what your name was until we did like the Zoom call. Like I've always known you as T, and I'm like, I don't know what T stands for. I was like that, and when I heard your name's Tatiana, I literally was like, that's the first time I ever heard of that.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say, but then I noticed your Instagram is like TFF. Why is it like that instead of T Hopper?
Because FF is part of my, given name, my real name.
Yeah.
And obviously Hopper is not my last name, so I kind of chose it because it's not that I dislike my last name, but it's kind of like, I don't know, it's one of those things where I didn't feel comfortable like having that name because it's kind of personal, but it also has to do with probably my father, and I don't like to carry a name of somebody that I kind of like don't connect with. So I wanted to come up with a name where I could, feel more like myself, and kind of like I took a bit to choose one, but yeah, so TFF is kind of like Tatiana, and then like my other two names, where it's a different language, of course, but then Oppo, yeah, it's kind of like my last name. Maybe one day I'll kind of like change it for real, but who knows?
Yeah, I was just curious. I always notice like little details like that. So I was like, I wonder.
Yeah, the thing is that a lot of people that really know me, like they don't call me Tatiana, so they always go by short names like T or Ta, and a lot of people call me T. And I thought, like, for some reason, and especially people on Instagram also, because they say TFF, so they go like by T. So they reached out to me, and I was like, well, when I wanted to put my name on YouTube, I was like, damn, what should I do? And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go with T, and then it'll be easy for everybody, because some people also have like, I don't know, it's a pronunciation kind of thing, so they feel like it's, it's too difficult. So
Yeah.
just make it easy.
I mean, you're talking to the one person that gets mispronounced all the time.
Yeah, I've seen that because I was watching your videos the other day, because actually I spoke with Vince that day because it was my scanning day, so I pretty much like watched everybody on YouTube, like what they were doing and stuff, and I came across your videos and I saw the joke like of Michel and Michel, and it was funny.
Yeah. So also, like, for example, Michel's not my last name, and so my mom or everyone else who follows like or watch my YouTube videos, they're always like, are you ashamed of your surname? And it's like, no, it's not even that. I just like had a favorite photographer before, and her name was her first and middle, so I just copied her, like, and then it just sticked because it was like, I can't go back now. Everything published is like my first and middle. But then obviously it's so funny when people would be like, Miss Michelle, and I'm like, that's not my name. Yeah. And like you said, like your friends call you a certain like nickname or name, and that also discloses how close you are with a person, right? So for like over here back home, everyone calls me JV because like my last name starts with a V. So when people say JV, I'm like, oh, that's like childhood, like that's family. But if someone says Joan, it's like, oh, you like know me in a like regular way. So do you prefer T, or is it still okay like to call you your full name? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you can call me my full name. You can call me whatever you want. It's fine. No worries at all. No problem at all. But
Yeah.
I do get it. Like, I get asked all the time, like, where I'm from, like, originally from, and like, why, how come, like, what languages do I speak, and like, where is my real name and stuff like that. So I kind of get like when you're questioned about like if you're ashamed and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not my case, but I do. People do get confused about it and think that sometimes you're kind of like either ashamed or kind of like you just don't want to use it for whatever reason. And yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. And like with you, it's like I want to like pick your brain because obviously everyone else's channel is pretty similar, with like
Yeah.
talking about photography and their film stock. But then your channel reminds me of like what I study in school when like a professor is lazy to teach a lesson. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, here's a YouTube video, and you're like, I'm
I,
paying you for that.
I like to think that at least if I were to be a teacher, I would be a really cool one because I wouldn't be like a boring one because I've had like too many boring teachers. So I feel like that's one of the things I get asked. I think I've got asked like a lot of the time, well, a lot of times now about like my YouTube channel, why I do the content that I do, which I think probably might be one of the questions that you might have. And I'd say that obviously everybody has like a similar channel, and to be honest with you, I wish I knew a bit more about gear than I know, because it's kind of like sometimes it's like embarrassing, but I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm a knobhead, I can't say some stuff that I know that I actually don't know. But so I'm going to put out something that I actually know about, so it can be helpful to people, kind of like making connections here and there, and like showing that there's so much to learn and stuff like that. And I felt like it was a different kind of voice that could be interesting to people, so yeah, I decided to run with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no,
just
that
kind of
makes
like,
sense. I mean, for sure, I'm not the biggest gearhead. I always tell people, for example, if they ask me, like, how did you do this photo? And I say, oh, I didn't use anything, they'll be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, they'll start freaking out. And
yeah,
for
yeah.
me, uh, like I said, because I'm a film student, so it's either I have classes with like a legit professor or professor who shows a bunch of YouTube videos. So I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if I sat in class and then they put your video up. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
similar content about like talking, especially because my school is more film theory based than production.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
it's
I come
always
from a
yeah,
similar background. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm also, well, currently I'm enrolling as, in a master's, film master's, but it's in a writing kind of way. But prior to that, I did my BA in film, and it was very like, it was all theory and about being authors and about being creative people, and not so much on, production and like kind of like being into it, like the reality of it. So yeah, I totally get like your background and like how people approach things, like probably near school the same way as mine, even though European schools do tend to be very much on, like thinking and philosophy and introducing philosophy in film and stuff like that. I felt that a lot while I was studying, and it kind of like helped, but also helped shaping kind of like the content that I do today, for instance, because I feel like it's kind of like a way of making people think as well. And that's kind of like how I was taught in a way, or, yeah.
Like for me,
Mm.
that's like I'm really happy that when I get so-called like interviewed for these podcasts and things, like the number one question is always like, Joan, what's your favorite movie? And I was laughing because like when I saw your Instagram story, and I was like, do me and T have the same likes? Like you don't want to judge someone. And then like
Yeah.
there are so many films that I was like, okay, cool, because you obviously know too, like someone who's a real like film goer does not just choose
Mm.
like Marvel, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
And so like I was like, oh cool, like we have the same like similar tastes. And then at the
Hmm.
same time, that's like the thing that I've been holding off. Like I show films that I make, but I've never like made
Hmm.
a video that's like, hey, these are my favorite movies or something, because like that's where I'm not confident. I'm not confident in my film analysis, even though I do so many papers and maybe I'm better than the normal person. But you know what I mean? Like I'm just like, oh no, like I feel like a bunch of like film people are gonna troll on my videos, and even though
I
you're
tell
like,
you what,
yeah, go ahead.
I tell you what, we should do one together. How about
Okay.
that?
Yeah, yeah. That's what me and
You
Madison
know?
did. Like when we had Creative Juice, I was like, oh, like let's do that. Like we did the Google Map thing. Like that's how that manifested. I was
Mm.
like, I've never
We
been to
could come up
Copenhagen.
with we could come up with an approach, like either, you know, trying to be obviously, well, mentioning films that probably a lot of people don't know, but still doing in a way that it can be appealing to people that, you know, are kind of not into art house and like more into, you know, the films that we probably watch as film students or as film people. So
Yeah.
I think we could come up with some interesting, I'll think about it, but
Yeah, yeah,
definitely I think it's a good thing. It would help you as well. I think it would help both of us, kind of like
yeah.
working on something like that.
I'm taking an honors film theory class like starting next week. I'm like, God help me. Like I hate writing papers. And I like you asked me like
Mm.
make a movie. I'm like, okay, sure, you know. But like ask me to write something like oh
Yeah.
but no,
See, I'm the other way around.
really?
I'm the other way around. Just because like I think my biggest thing is that I'm too perfectionist. Like I'm so perfectionist. Like for instance, so that you have an idea, right? Um, when I finished my BA, we had to do like there was this thing called like an experimental lab. So it was like a kind of like a subject that you had to take, and then you could create whatever film you want. And there were rules. And I broke every single rule because like the rules were like, oh, you can only do like I think it has 3 people, and you can only do like I think it was like half an hour up until half an hour. So I did an hour and a half. I did like, you know, I used the same actor but like different characters and stuff like that. It was interesting, but like because I was such a perfectionist person, I still am. I spent a whole year doing a project that should have been done in 3 months. So, you know, it takes me a lot. That's why, for instance, for me now, what I do on YouTube is a kind of like a visual paper, if you want to put it that way, so that one day when I need to do my own stuff, which will always probably come up within the next year or two, because I need to do a film for my master's. So it's kind of like let's say a basis of like kind of like me learning with myself and what I'm kind of like seeing in films and stuff. But definitely right now it would be easier for me to come up with the paper than to film something, because I'll be like, oh, that's not good enough, oh, and this is not good enough. So yeah, I feel like that's probably the thing that I need to improve. But yeah.
Next curious is about if you could make any movie, like what would you
Ooh.
want to do?
Well,
Like
I
your
feel
dream
like,
project, yeah.
my dream project, I have a lot of dream projects,
Okay.
but that's because I feel like there's main ideas and like themes that I want to work around, and then there's so many ways where or stories where I can incorporate them. So for instance, like I've got so many ideas, but like for instance right now, obviously for my master's, I'm writing about something close to basically a couple that, you know, have a very destructive relationship, and then like for some reason they decide to leave whatever, you know, their life, and just kind of like try and fix their issues, but going around traveling. And they do a couple of things that can be considered a bit harsh and a bit like not acceptable for the normal person, but having in consideration, you know, questions such as existential questions, such as, you know, identity, my relationship with the other, my relationship with myself. So I like to concentrate on stuff like that. And these things, that's why I said there's a lot of dream projects that I have, because I have so many stories where these patterns fit in. And so I can't pick one because I would like to do it all, if that makes sense. But I'll definitely say that I would love to one day be able to direct films that were more like, yeah, in the existential kind of manner, because I feel like today we watch a lot of films, like, or, you know, a lot of movies, but we go to the theater and it's just, there's something missing there. I really wish that certain filmmakers that I really look up to were still doing films today. Unfortunately, they can't, because, you know, they're not alive anymore. But, you know, I really feel like their voices should come up, you know, should be continued in a way, like the perception of film as an art and not just as a entertainment. It can be both. It can be just an art, it can be a mean of expression, and it can be both, and it can be just entertainment, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I think there's like space for every single thing. And I feel like, unfortunately, these days, there's a lot of, like, there's the light, let's just put it this way, is too much on entertainment in a way. And I would really love to have more people and, you know, coming up and just doing some really interesting stuff that you would be like, wow, that film made me leave like my seat kind of like in a trance, let's just put it this way, like thinking, what the heck just happened, you know, what the hell did I just saw? And kind of like make me consider like my own life. And like, you know, I like that. I really love that. I feel like this is where you can say that film is truly an art, when it reaches deep to you, like it makes a connection with you. And, you know, I really enjoy that. And I feel like that's probably one of the main reasons why, you know, a lot of filmmakers did it. And I feel like we should continue doing it, like have more people out there doing stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I totally relate. Especially, I pretty much probably watch more either Criterion Channel or like A24 films, because they're different than what you normally see as like a Hollywood film or whatever. At the
Yeah.
same time, it's interesting you brought that up, because on YouTube, like for example, you mentioned how you open their minds or broaden their like perspective on things. For me on my channel, I always get the same kind of similar comments, like, oh, you brought me in, like you made me think, you made me feel things that I didn't think it was either okay to talk about. And I'm just like, my video, you know, did that, you know?
Yeah.
And my short films, or even just like my YouTube videos of me talking about my experiences, are so heavy that I'm just talking on my own personal level, but people, I just never thought it would really connect. Like I just did it for myself. And that was also like, I always say my reference is like my Taylor Swift breakup song. In order to like, you know, let go of whatever relationship I went through, I'll make a film about it. Sucks for the guy. So for me, I feel like I can never, if let's say, if I definitely want to be an auteur for sure. Like I never would want to be like a commercial director who just like gets paid to just direct something that has no connection with me. But there are people who just do it for the money, like you said, like just for entertainment. And what sucks the most is like when, like for example, whatever is like the best picture in like that wins in the Oscar, I realize is always dictates next year's like films, you know?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm kind of sad because Parasite won, and like I love Parasite, but the fact that this year could have been the year of foreign films, and instead it's just like no movies at all, you know?
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm not really familiar with, I actually, I have a Criterion subscription. I love Criterion. I like to find I find a lot of things through them. And I don't ever watch the Oscars or anything like that, because I feel like, it's might be controversial, but I don't care, to be honest. I feel like it's like kind of like glorifying something that's not even there. Like most of the people do it because they have an interest or money interest, or either financial interest or an interest in gaining something from it. And I feel like if you do it genuinely, you shouldn't have in consideration even the fact that you might become famous, or the fact that you might have, you know, tons of money, the fact that you might come into certain things in life that can be viewed as success. I feel like a lot of people have this idea as well that success is kind of like translated into material things and things that you can show. I don't think so. but you know, and I feel like events such as the Oscars helps creating this idea that you're only a good actor because you got this Oscar. Well, I've seen so many people getting Oscars, and I mean, I'm not like a big director or anything, but I'm just saying, like, I've seen much better. You know, there's so many actors that, you know, basically work and put so much effort, and like method actors as well, who have forever been seen as such a, like, you know, kind of like a exotic thing, because, you know, method acting was something from the 1950s and James Dean and blah blah blah, and it's not in vogue anymore. Well, I don't think, you know, it's kind of like, again, it's these events that create wrong ideas about certain things, not just about the state of filmmaking, not just about, you know, what it is to be successful, what is the best and what is not the best. You know, that's why I never watch shows, well, not shows, but like, you know, ceremonies like that, because it's about kind of like making a show around something that is so empty. To me, I cannot relate to that. And I love film. I mean, film is probably my main area, but you know, I'm watching something that is technically about film, and I cannot relate to that at all, like none. And I've met so many people that find this probably very, you know, they say that I'm probably too much, you know, or I'm like, oh yeah, but they call me like, oh, you have a Godard kind of like way of thinking. And I said, no, I'm not actually in the mountains making films like Godard, but you know, I kind of can see why he did it. You know, I'm not saying that it's good or bad necessarily, but I can kind of see, I feel like the world of filmmaking has so much to give, and still, or yet, most people have so many wrong perceptions about it. And it's so hard to get into it. And there's reasons for that, because of such, you know, industries and such kind of like establishments. And then you have like what to me is like clear hypocrisy in a way, which is, oh, this year we gave the award to this black actor, thumbs up. You know, it just happened for political reasons, and there's been so many people that have done such an amazing work that has never been recognized. And you know, that's why I kind of like, oh, I don't even, you know, there's like blocking. But it's, I feel like if it were to be genuine, certain people that I know the names of probably, you know, wouldn't be underground, probably would be out there, everybody would know about them. You know, I feel like, unfortunately, this is how the world goes around.
Yeah,
And
no,
well,
I totally understand. Yeah, like
well, it is what
definitely.
it is.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's like society in itself, where you just get upset because obviously whatever's trending, people just follow. They don't genuinely know the background about whatever it is that is why it raised to fame, whatever it is, and they just go wherever the crowd goes. And
Yeah.
for me, that's always been the biggest issue, like amongst
Mm-hmm.
my peers, even like let's say on YouTube, being like a female, right? It's always
Mm-hmm.
like I'm always like the underdog. Like it's never
Mm-hmm.
like and I think what makes I know like you're more recent on YouTube compared to me, but for in my experience, I've just been very grateful for anyone who's followed my journey
Mm-hmm.
before YouTube. It's just like they've seen me keep trying and striving and like just like keep doing what I'm doing and not get so affected, because obviously I'm human, and it's only you know, it happens where you can't help but compare yourself to other people and be like, why are they getting noticed, you know, or promoted, or and then you're just like still working your ass off and nothing's happening, or it is but slowly.
That this is how the world goes around, that people don't even pay attention to that. And that is how the problem starts, because a lot of people ignore the world they live in. Like, and when I say ignore, is a largely ignore. Like, it's obviously they're aware of what's going on, but like there's a lot of situations that people have no idea, and if they knew, they probably would be kinder and probably would be like more mindful to their actions and their words, I would say. And that's why we live in a world where you say something now, it'll spark a fire. Like it'll be like, oh my god, you know, people will be extremely offended, because again, I feel like there's a lot of perspectives out there, and people have a clear lack of like kind of like in like I don't know, but like kind of like looking at other people and understand what's going on. For instance, like obviously I'm not American, I'm not, you know, I'm not black, I never experienced racism, but I can relate to that, I can understand. And ever since like an early stage of my life that I've seen that from, you know, and obviously I'm white and I've seen that from my perspective, and I'm like, oh, this is not right, and I've always done something about it. So it's kind of like trying to include perspectives and trying to have a sort of, you know, values and manners. And there's a lot of like that is lacking, and a lot of intolerance in our world, unfortunately. But the whole principle goes to show that, you know, yeah, you made it right, but that just, you know, the world rules this way, you know, it is. But it's up to us to kind of change it. So I hope that whatever we end up doing in life years in the future, I hope it has an impact, a positive impact at least.
I think
So yeah.
what I enjoy about knowing you and what I've heard over other interviews you've done is you've always used your platform to make a statement. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
like most people obviously do YouTube either as a hobby sometimes and they're just having fun, which is fine as well. But you definitely take advantage of having a voice and then making a statement. And like you said, like opening people's minds to whatever else is out there and like letting them figure out for themselves if it is for them or not. And that just always mind blown to me, the fact that you do that, because obviously not everyone does that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
always great that you do that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it's kind of like uh if it, obviously I think I was questioned like when I did the podcast. I think one of the questions was, do you want to be seen as a authority? I think it was an authority, or like in photography. And I said no. Well, because first of all, I'm a knobhead with gear, so I cannot even, you know, can't be helpful to people right there. But I want to be seen as a helping hand, not just as a photographer. But I think my channel goes from film photography to so many different things, and that is for a reason, because everything is connected, and people sadly fail to realize that all the time, you know. And you know, it's kind of like wanting to seeing photography for what it is. And what it is that it's complex, it's way more than just taking a photo, and it's way more than just looking at somebody's work and thinking, oh, this is a nice picture, oh, I like the composition. Yeah, but what is that composition telling you? Why did it frame it like that and not like that? You know what I mean? It's kind of like going beyond, and that's what we should do in life. Because I mean, I have so much to learn, and I feel like, for instance, with my videos, it's really cool that I have to when I do it, like I learn a lot, and I'm like, damn, I'm actually, you know, learning me, and then like kind of like spreading my knowledge, and that is quite cool. And I feel like people should do that a lot, like even if it's just not on YouTube, but like generally speaking, like talking to your friends, calling your mom and saying like, oh man, I've seen this painting, you need to check it out, it's unbelievable. And not just about art, but as just generally speaking, like passing on knowledge. I think that's very important. And yeah, I feel like it's probably one of the keys to make things go forward, I'd say.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I'm like, mic drop. Like, it literally just said a whole lot of things that obviously it's like now whoever is gonna watch is be like, now I gotta digest and process everything T said. Like that's exactly the effect you want after watching. Okay,
But
well,
yeah, thank you so much for everything, and we'll talk in some other time. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
yeah, you too. I mean, we'll definitely talk. It's bound to happen.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
okay. See ya.
Bye.